appreciate you taking your time out of your busy day to come and talk to me, and I'll have my contact information at the end of this presentation. So if you have any questions afterwards, feel free to reach out. And I really do mean that. Feel free to reach out. So let me give you a little nickel tour history of New Orleans, and we'll talk about what I do. Because I don't think anybody here has nobody's got a healthcare background. Anybody worked for hospitals?
I have a healthcare background. My wife's a doctor.
Well, there you go. So you're going to really appreciate this.
Yeah, 30 plus years.
Yeah, and then after that, I'll talk about my Cal State San Bernardino experience, where I came from, or before Cal State, how I wound up here, and what we're going to do, what I did after that. So let's roll. So New Orleans, Louisiana is a 300-year-old city, and I got our 300th anniversary this year. I got a little license plate on the back of my car. It's just a wonderful mixture. So much stuff. We got the French Quarter, the streetcars. Tennessee Williams' famous Streetcar Named Desire movie and play was inspired by that. The famous Superdome, and just a lot going on there in New Orleans. And Mardi Gras, of course. Anybody been to New Orleans, by the way?
Been there.
Been there? Outstanding. Yeah, we've been there. Okay. So Mardi Gras happens every time right there, just right before Fat Tuesday. And people look at me like I have 3 heads and 4 eyes when I say this, but 95% of what goes on at Mardi Gras is family safe. I take my kids down there all the time. I know, right? Like, seriously? Yeah, I kid you not. See these ladders right here? So as these particular floats go along, these ladders, this is where we put the 2- and 3-year-old kids. So as these folks throws, you can see all the little throws and the beads here, the kids can catch them. And they have little bags, and sometimes I've seen actually little plastic gutters that they'll just slide the little throws down and have little bags down here. It's great. So you see all these little 2- and 3-year-old kids just right there. Yeah, those little boxes at the top of the ladders aren't going to accommodate too much. So in the spirit of that, I feel a little uncomfortable right now because I don't feel like I'm back home. So I got something for you. I came prepared. And you can go home. You can go home and tell your mom, your parents, that you got real Mardi Gras beads, and you didn't have to do anything you couldn't tell your mothers about to get them. And, yeah, so this is really how we do it. So, I'll give you a couple. We'll spread the love around. And really, we just throw them. I kid you not. Here you go, catch.
You gotta say, throw me something this
Yeah. That's the other thing is your, and you gotta have more than a couple here. There you go. Let me open up the black one here. You gotta have more than one. There you go. There you go. And yep, these are really from New Orleans. So the other fun thing about Mardi Gras is that folks, you got enough down there? Folks will, they have various organizations that actually sponsor these floats, right? There we go. And we've got enough. And we got plenty more. And I'll leave this mess here for you all, because you can see the mess here every Mardi Gras, right? And that's how you judge the success of a parade, by how much mess we made. All right, I feel better. So.
Makes you feel at home.
Exactly, right? There you go. You guys are looking good.
Matches our colors.
There you go. That's why I got them. Yeah. So with that, we got Louis Armstrong Park, Jackson Square, and the Mississippi River, of course, flows right by there, and yet that is a functioning paddle wheeler. And of course, there's my family. It's my wife, and as you can see, there's my mom and my dad. They came out, and then my 3 kids. We were all at Mardi Gras. So really, like I said, I took my kids there. A lot of fun. This is the organization that I work with there in New Orleans, LCMC Health. We're a 5-hospital organization that just recently brought together, and if you're familiar, as you are, with healthcare economics in the last decade or so, it's really changed, because the idea of being a single healthcare provider just all by yourself and that's a real struggle. And so organizations are having to get together and merge. Number one, to control costs. You've got a lot of back office, IT, and administrative consolidation and sharing. Electronic medical health records are incredibly expensive to implement, and you have to comply with all the federal government regulations. So there's a lot of restructuring within the healthcare industry. And with that restructuring, like anything else, whenever there's chaos or change, sometimes people like to call it, there's opportunity. There's lots of things that need to occur. So I'll introduce you a little bit to a couple of my hospitals. This is Children's Hospital in New Orleans, and it's a 224-bed facility started in the mid-50s. And Turo Infirmary, this was established just right before the Civil War in the 1850s. Judah Turo was a wealthy businessman who left a big endowment, and so that hospital is named after him. But yeah, it's been around since 1850s. It's real famous because that's where a lot of births. Their tagline is, "This is where babies come from." So it's a huge family birth center. University Medical Center is our latest hospital, and you can see there's the Superdome off in the French Quarter is located just kind of beyond these buildings in this area here. So as you recall, back in 2005, we had Hurricane Katrina blow through New Orleans. It just devastated the community. Lots of federal and funds were released to rebuild a lot of the infrastructure. At that time, there was a hospital called Charity Hospital, and it was actually almost rebuilt because the building was so incredibly old and the infrastructure so outdated. The federal government and the state elected not to completely rebuild that, and instead, just a few blocks away, built this state-of-the-art facility. It's a level 1 trauma center, and all the LSU Medical Center doctors, this is where they come to study. So it's just phenomenal. New Orleans East Hospital here is a small 86-bed facility located east side of New Orleans, and we're happy to have that. It recently opened in the last 5 years and restored access to the lower 9th Ward and some of the really heavily devastated areas. And the last but not least is West Jefferson Medical Center. This is originally run by the parish of Jefferson Parish. This is a state hospital, and this was a city hospital. And so the structures behind it are these two merged together and formed LCMC Health, and then they entered a public-private partnership with the state, the parish, and the city. So we're kind of all in bed together, right? And a lot of fun, a lot of opportunity there. And so part of the reason why they merged was, again, to drive down those back office costs, to implement an EMR that could be effective and to compete in the marketplace, because there is another even far larger healthcare organization there in New Orleans that has a very advanced electronic medical health record and payment processing systems. Lots of competition there, so opportunities. Again, just a little LCMC Health by the numbers, how big we are. We're not the biggest facility in New Orleans, but certainly we do have our fair share of patient volume and physicians and volunteers, right? So, what would you say you do here? You guys remember this movie, man? So this is a movie that came out about 20 years ago called Office Space. And in this particular scene, the Bobs here, these are the consultants that they hired, and these guys would come in and they're analyzing, is this the most efficient process? Is this organizational structure really not efficient? And everybody's very nervous because they feel like they're fighting for their jobs. So the Bobs, they're both named Bob there, they always ask the same question. Before these folks in the conference, what would you say you do here? It's really kind of a funny movie. I think it should be required reading for every graduate from college. So what do I do here, right? So let me walk through the work history highlights a little bit first, and I'll get to exactly what I do at LCMC Health. So in 1999, right, I was living in Utah, and I was a desktop support and as a network administrator. And I'll go through my academic history a little bit later, but just focus on the work history for now. So there I was working, and around about 2001, you'll recall that the stock market crashed, and a lot of folks lost their jobs, particularly in the IT industry. We had lots of .coms that were just essentially founded just to get stock options. And unfortunately, many of those didn't make it because they just ultimately weren't turning profits. So in 2001, after I was let go, I came down here and I was able to secure a position for the county of San Bernardino. So I started out working for the sheriff's department, again, as desktop support. Just fix PCs every day, do some basic network troubleshooting for the network folks. And they had a they had an opportunity over at Arrowhead Regional Medical Center where I became the help desk manager. So I really did, I had a lot of interaction with healthcare just by my physically being there. But my primary role was to supervise and manage all the help desk technicians, make sure all the printers got fixed and the desktop PCs were repaired. The IT equipment was just generally working. So then later on in 2007, I worked for the county for a number of years. I moved up to the state of Washington, and there I secured a position as an application analyst, really transitioning over from the IT hardware to the software side. So now I had a much better job because I wasn't on call all the time. Man, I hated being on call. You know, the router broke, it's 2 in the morning, gotta drive in and fix it. Man, I don't want to do that. Those software guys always seem to have it really easy. They had to take a call. 2 in the morning, they just dial in, do a little programming, go, okay, it's fixed. I like that. So I did that, and then my organization at that time switched from their previous EMR to Epic, and I'll show you what that looks like a little bit later on. Then in 2012, because of that Epic certification, at that time I had my MBA, so you see the title slide, I graduated in 2005. I became a manager and then a project manager working with Catholic health initiatives. So I had a team located in Tacoma, Washington, and the other half of my team located in Omaha, Nebraska. I had to dually manage that, and I was flying all over the United States and Omaha, and there was subsequent future deployments that the company was planning out in South Dakota. And I think we had one more coming up in Kansas. I'm like, why does everybody get those really cool places like New York and Miami, and I get Omaha? This is great. But no, I was glad to do it. And it really was a good experience. And then in 2015, I began working for my current company, LCMC Health, and the senior project manager for them. Okay. Oh, and I'm a beekeeper too. I just threw that in there, right? It's just fun to have a hobby that has nothing to do with IT. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. So to help you understand what exactly I do and why I do it, I just want to take you back in time a little bit and explain something about hospitals and how it worked way back when from an IT perspective. So in the 90s, physicians and doctors are like, hey, we got to get a computer in here. That'd be great. I'm tired of all this paperwork, and we're not able to provide good care. So let's get some computers in here. And inside any hospital, there's lots of departments. You've got patient registration, and the lab, and radiology, and lots of stuff. So one day, patient registration wakes up and they say, you know what? We need to buy a computer. So behold, they bought Cerner. And then the emergency department says, you know, we need a computer system too. And behold, they bought NextGen. And the pharmacy said, well, you know, we need a computer system because it's really important to keep track of all the medication orders. And we don't want to kill patients. Could we kill patients with medications? Yes, unfortunately we could. And so we want to keep track of their drug-drug interactions and their drug allergies, all that really interesting stuff. So behold, they bought their computer system. Nursing said, well, we need to be able to chart. And we're getting a computer system too. And then pretty soon the lab said, yep, we need one too, because we got all these really cool tests. And every other department decided that they were going to go and purchase a computer system, and it didn't stop. Every day you'd wake up, and on the door they go, hey, we have a computer system. And the IT guys got to go in there in the middle of it all and support it. And no fooling, this is just a small subset of all the various applications that are in use in a given hospital. So then they said, well, golly, it's crazy in our workflow that when the information we type here doesn't make it here. And then this computer system doesn't talk to this computer system. Okay, they said, we got an answer for that. So the industry got together and developed this communication protocol called HL7. And they said, we'll share this information here, patient demographics, master patient ID, and all this really interesting stuff, and even more, right? So to give you an idea of the scope and complexity, I just want you to show you that just for this information alone, when I do this, I have to take this system and connect it to a central hub and then distribute that information to every single other system. And they all talk, yes, they speak the same language, but one system's from New York, and it says, you know, one dialect of it. And the other system's from the South, and so if I don't use the word y'all, it doesn't understand it, right? So that gives you an idea of all these IT folks that I gotta have in the middle to make all these computer systems talk, which costs millions of dollars. Give you a funny story. So I was in this hospital system, and it took us 5 months. 5 months, and we're really proud of ourselves, but it took a lot of work, to be able to have 3 of these systems sit there and appropriately share allergy information. 5 months. So you think about the 7 people that we had working on that, their annual salaries, we probably spent about $500,000, $1 million just to make that happen. That kind of chaos, and it's just unsustainable from the long-term IT costs. No organization can afford this. That's why hospitals have to get together. And even when they get together, they're looking at this and they're going, this is way too inefficient. We can't sustain this. So, armed with the resources of 250 IT staff, in about 5 years and $84 million, myself and my other fellow project managers and coordination with my program director, we said, okay, we're going to change this out. And so literally, at the snap of a finger, we go snap, and then all those systems change, just like that. And I did at that West Jeff Hospital, it's been about 4 weeks now. That was my most recent go live, where we had this seminal event, where we had this huge conference room. We really do put about 200 people in this room. They're all over their computers, supporting the implementation of the application. This is Epic. And that's the application I'm most primarily familiar with in the installation. So it's really neat, and nobody knows about this outside. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
St. Charles Medical Center, Bend, Oregon, they converted the 4 hospitals up there. They converted Epic, I believe it was in April.
Oh, good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I've heard of Epic.
Oh, good.
Yay!
Good for you. That is the first. All right. But a lot of opportunity in healthcare, and even for MBAs and folks that are not familiar with healthcare in general. Yeah, as an industry, we teach because we have to, and we can translate just about any skills. I have my undergraduate, I'll tell you later, but my boss's undergraduate's in English. I don't think he ever did get a graduate degree. A lot of folks just major in all kinds of interesting things. Our trainer's art history. My wife is a trainer, she majored in English. So lots of opportunity. Okay. So let's look at my academic progression. And lay that over. So from 95 to 98, I attended BYU in Provo, Utah, and I got my undergraduate in sociology. That was awesome. And when I graduated, I quickly realized that as I put my applications out there, it was real tough. You know, the state of Utah was happy to have me as a social worker, and they were going to pay me $26,000 a year to be a social worker. And I said, I don't think so. I don't think so. So if you recall my previous work history, I had a hint of an IT background. And so then what I went to do is in 2000, I went and got some networking certifications. At that time, Novell was still around. I think they'd gone away. But Microsoft and Cisco were around. And so I became very IT-centric. And remember in 2001, the industry just collapsed. And that really frightened me because I lost my job in like October of 2001. I got married in February 2002. It's a great thing to do. Yeah, I highly recommend it. And I didn't include it in my previous jobs, but when I first got married, I think a week after we got home from our honeymoon, my first job was as a substitute teacher for the school district. And so my wife was too, where we're just trying to find a permanent job. I taught home ec and calculus and drama and all those fun things, but I'll just never forget. And so in coming back here, I moved back from Utah to San Bernardino, I just thought, I never want to experience that anxiety again of losing a job. Now, I can't always control that. Industry things happen. But I want to be so well prepared next time that if that happens again, I've got a bigger parachute to catch me. I lost my job, and I armed with this was fine. But remember, I was competing against lots of other people that had lost their jobs with lots more years of experience than I did. So, and this was the only skill set I could offer at that time. So I remember I went and had a real interesting meeting with Professor T.B. Ram. And you remember him?
Yeah, he's a He was a good man.
Yeah, he was a really good man. He taught in the information systems department. And my dad knew him, and I can remember having just talking to my dad and saying, what do I do? He goes, I gotta go get your MBA. And you really gotta go talk to Professor Rom. I said, well, how do I do my MBA? What am I gonna do with that? What's an MBA anyway? This is a broad general degree, and what do you do with that? All the same questions, right? So I called up Professor Rom, and he spent a few moments with me, actually about an hour and a half. And we had a really nice conversation. I was always grateful that he spent the time, and he just said, you'll never go wrong getting your MBA. And I said, well, why would I want to go to Cal State San Bernardino? And when I go to Cal State San Bernardino, will I be able to compete against the guys from, I don't know, Notre Dame or all these other MBAs from other schools? And he said, well, you know, that first job out there, if you're going to apply to an major investment banking firm in New York City, yeah, you're probably going to get beat out by the guy from Notre Dame or NYU, right? But in those second jobs, and in those that second job move that you're going to make 5, 6 years ago, now it's a little bit more parity. Now, yeah, there's a lot of things that and ultimately nobody's ever asked me where I got my MBA. I just care that I got it. And I'm proud to say I got it from Cal State San Bernardino for a lot of different reasons that I'll share later. But yeah, so based on his advice, you'll never be sorry you got it. I had no idea what I was going to do with it. I just knew I wanted to lead. That would be helpful. I'd like to get more information. So I went and talked to the MBA office. I'll never forget this conversation. They sat me down and they said, Zach, what do you want to emphasize then, right? They said, oh, you got an IT background. You should emphasize in IT. And I said, no, I do not want to emphasize in IT. Nope. I said, I got all this. I want to, as Professor Yang will appreciate, I want to hedge my risk. I want to diversify my educational portfolio. And so I thought, I want to academically repent for my very soft major here. I want the hardest thing you've got. And I said, well, finance, that's pretty hard. I said, yep, sign me up. I want finance. So I can remember sitting there doing the quantitative analysis of stocks and doing the Black-Scholes stock options pricing model and going, holy cow. It was a lot of fun. So then later on, years later, I got my some EPIC certifications, and they offer certifications and then, of course, proficiencies in these areas. And these are marketable skills. People are always glad I got my MBA, and then a lot of times they call and say, well, you could do some of this stuff here. Boy, you could build some of that in the application. And all the difference between certification and proficiency is that certification means your boss sent you up to Madison, Wisconsin, where EPIC is located. You took the class, and then you took the test, and you studied the book. Here, you didn't take the class, you just studied the book and took the test all on your own because you just wanted to figure it out. And that's kind of what I did. I thought this information was really pertinent to a project I was working on. I thought, well, I mastered it, and so I'm just going to take the test and put it on paper. So, yeah. And then I had some pharmacy work I needed to build at the time, and went and got my decision support certification. So it's like a little extra merit badge. Oh, it's fun. And then last but not least, I got my PMP, or Project Management Professional Certification. And that has been really helpful. And that's all because I saw an opportunity, and I thought, well, that'd be really interesting to get that information. So I'm happy to share how I got that with you later on. So what led me here? I think I kind of talked about that. But, like yourselves, and especially your first year, I'm sure you went through these same questions of, well, first of all, what do I envision for my future? I don't know what I'm going to actually do yet. Maybe you do. Maybe you're at work and you've got this very specific job title, requires an MBA. Okay, you're going to get that, but for the vast majority of us, it's just I just want more skills so I can be more competitive in the marketplace. That's fine. And then, how much does a Cal State MBA? How much an MBA cost? Quite a considerable investment. And am I going to get the value out of that? And then, of course, does Cal State, what do they offer here? And I'm proud to say y'all offer way more even programs now than I had when I was here all those years ago. So the bottom line is that really it's just acquisition of skills. That being here and participating in these classes is about the acquisition of skills. And so what do I mean by that? Every organization has challenges or questions. And it's so funny, you and I were talking as you walked in. you're working on your paper, and that particular organization, that sole proprietorship, they have a question. They don't even know what the question is yet, but that's part of the problem is, what's my question? So you're going to figure it out, right? And armed with the skills that you got, you're gonna help them to put this information together. Well, you know, as I mentioned earlier, this is one of the questions that my industry is currently facing. It's a pretty monstrous question. How do we do this? You know, I got to reduce costs, maximize revenue, and of course make sure my patients are happy and my physicians are happy and everybody's happy. Whew, it's really a challenge. I don't even know the answers half the time, but what I do know in most organizations is if we just walk through the process, we can get there. So another question, of course, how our organization transition from fee-based to value-based. So years and years, you just go to the doctor will order tests, and the doctor get reimbursed. Well, if some doctors got this perverse incentive that, well, if I just keep ordering lots more tests, some of which perhaps are unnecessary, look, I get more money. That's no good. So now, folks, CMS and the government caught on to that. So, well, we care about the value that you're providing, not the quantity that you're doing. And so, armed with these same skills that you're learning here, and you often start off with a position, you don't know the destination yet, but you do have faith that the skills that you've got are going to get you there. So another, what I like to call, required skills, I'm just going to substitute that and use the word tools. Okay? And then organizational challenges, I'm going to substitute that and say, things that are broken around the house and aren't working and I need to go fix it. Let me give you quick examples. So I got this fridge at home, right? It's a Samsung fridge, it works. It's got this little, it's a French door fridge, it's got what they call a moulin, right? You know what a moulin is? It's that little flap right in the middle. And this flap in the middle, my little flap didn't work. And it broke. And now it's just flapping open like this. So every time I shut the door, it doesn't all the way shut and lets cold air out. It drives me crazy. So my wife was, I gotta fix it. So just before I left and flew out here, I fixed it. So how did I fix it? I went to YouTube, found the video, and then I worked with some of these other folks, identified the part, ordered it, Amazon, 2 days later, got it, followed the YouTube video, and there's my little spring, right? And then just got it installed. It was awesome. Totally worked. So then the next problem I've got around the house is that I got this oil filter. I changed my own oil in my car again. It's not IT really. It's like, oh, joy. There's no IT things. And this problem that I have is that my hand barely fits right in here. It's just gigantic. And I can't get any good oil filter wrenches. So I went to the auto parts store and I said, you guys got anything that's going to work for me? And so they gave me this tool, this little oil filter wrench. Right? So I got this tool, just put it on my little ratchet, unscrewed my and I fixed it, right? It's awesome, and it was good. So this last problem I've got, this is a critter. This is no, it's not a bed bug.
Thank God.
No, I'm not talking about bed bugs. This is a varroa mite. And what a varroa mite does is it lives in a beehive. And as I mentioned earlier, it's a beekeeper. And so it actually gets a little beetle, goes into the larvae and lays it in there. And then this little varroa mite just rides the honeybee and sucks his blood through its entire life. Some little parasite. And so I got an infestation in one of my hives. So I called my friends. I said, what do we do? And they said, oh, we got this tool here. It's a varroa mite beetle trap. So what I do is I fill it with oil, put it in my beehive, and then the bees actually chase the varroa mites into the trap and follow the oil, and they die. Yes, I controlled my varroa mites. So that's a problem. Then I got a little solution there, and it's working so far. And so why do I talk about these three particular solutions? Because I think that being here at Cal State MBA, MBA program, you're acquiring knowledge, but more importantly, that knowledge represents a tool that you're going to be able to use as you go forth to answer some of these questions. And you're thinking, I don't know what the answer is, and I again repeat the phrase, a lot of times you don't, but you do know the question, you got the problem, and you just walk through that process and just keep at it until you, in coordination with many others, develop those answers. And I really call that process like a professional craftsmanship. Because you're going to go out there and you're just going to work this system with these tools that you've been given. Just like any woodworker would. He's got his woodworking tools. You've got your MBA education or tools that you're going to use and continually to reuse. And you're going to get so good at it that you're going to, wow, because look, when you are finished with school, you just know enough, right? I mean, you've learned the concepts of the Black-Scholes stock options pricing model and others. But when you get out into the world and you start using it, you're going to refine your techniques with those tools, and your ability and knowledge of really how to skillfully use those tools like a surgeon is going to really increase. So I go to some of these are my favorite little tool supplying stations, places I go to go get my favorite tools. But Cal State San Bernardino is a place where I got one of my favorite tools as well in education. So as I go back to my education, watch this. So my academic progression and skill acquisition to build on that subject. So at BYU, armed with that sociology degree, I really got that broad-based social education. And that was good, but it wasn't enough. And so I went and diversified the portfolio again and got my specialized technical education. So now armed with really a broad-based, very special technical niche, that was good. But it wasn't enough to really move up into leadership because I just flat out didn't have the skill set. So here at Cal State San Bernardino gave me that broad-based strategic. So at strategic, now I'm flying at what I would call the 50,000 foot level. I can really see that overarching view. I've got the skills and the tool sets to understand that. When I walk in and talk to the CFOs and CEOs and chief operating officers of the hospitals, I can articulate what it is, the information that they need out of my projects. So it's been really great because, gosh, Jack, when you're talking about your MBA, you got it in finance, but you never actually used it. That's true, but that was by choice because I really wanted to diversify, and I had that healthcare IT progression, so I just figured I'd just keep it going, and that's really paid off. But heaven forbid something happened in healthcare, I can always fall back to that position if I have to restart and rebuild it. I loved it anyway. I wouldn't change a thing. Again, more specialized technical information, this time really specific and narrow within the scope of healthcare. And then the PMP gave you that specialized tactical leadership. So here I'm functioning at the 50,000 foot level. But like any good strategy, if your implementation is horrible, it doesn't matter how good the strategy is. Or if your implementation is great, but your strategy is putting you in the wrong way, well, that was not good either. And so, armed with this entire portfolio, it's been really nice to be able to successfully lead lots of projects and implementations. So in sum, again, I would say that, by the way, this is a picture of Oak Alley. And Oak Alley is halfway between Baton Rouge and New Orleans, Louisiana there in the Mississippi River. And it's a real famous sugar plantation, so it's a kind of historical landmark. And these beautiful oak trees. This is the view looking from the river. Here's the view from that same porch looking towards the river. These oak trees, let's check my notes here. These year were they planted? They were planted in 1853. So just really old oak trees that grew up. Just an absolute beautiful view. And so as we plant that foundation, again, Oak Alley, as we plant that foundation, that tree can really grow up. And that's what the Cal State MBA has been for me, is that foundation of, I got my undergraduate, but I really caught it here, the foundation, and then I can hang all the additional technical and tactical things. So it's just been fantastic to have that. And so they asked me, well, tell them, explain the pluses and deltas of what it was like here. Okay. So things I loved. Saturdays with Professor Yang. Any y'all finance majors? No finance majors? Oh, you're missing out. That's okay.
Listen to him.
So I can remember I had a class with Professor Yang, and this stuff was just so hard. It was just, I can remember going home and I have no idea. Like, I get it, like he was a great instructor, don't get me wrong, but I just really struggled with some of this material. So I talked to Professor Yang after class one day, and I said, I really need some help. And at that time, you were working, I think on your tenure, you had some big document you were preparing, or he says, well, I'm here on Saturdays. So I'd go outside and work out of his office, just outside of his office, a big table there, and we share a little choco pies from Korea. And it was just fun just to get together, so I really appreciate that. Professor Kim is in the finance program. And if you've ever had encountered Professor Kim, you know that he is a very tough and demanding professor. Takes no prisoners. He knows his stuff, super smart. And I can remember one time in class I asked him, and to this day I feel bad, kind of bad. I didn't mean to embarrass him. I think I got mad at him. Maybe not. I said, Professor Kim, now you teach this finance material. How come you're not out in the private industry doing this? But you're here. And he didn't answer the question at first, so I repeated it. And then he stopped and he said, I don't want to be out there because it's millions of dollars, it's very stressful, and I really enjoy what I do. And it was one of the, his brutal honesty was one of the first moments I thought, good for him. If that's what he wanted to do, then I'm glad he's doing it. And it really was a testament to me that, the progression that, I don't know why I thought this, but progression I thought of, well, you just keep going, just follow the money, wherever it is, just be a multimillionaire, right? If that's what you want, then fine, but, you just get whichever you want. And whatever you want, well, that's okay, as long as that's what you wanted. So I really appreciate his brutal honesty. Entrepreneurial lecture series, Professor Stoll, you guys have that? Get in there. The entrepreneurial class is really a lot of fun. It sounds like the practicum, though, that you all do at the end of the year. It was that same thing that we had to do, and that is getting in there and getting that business case, doing the analysis, getting the hands-on experience. Just phenomenal. I really enjoyed it. My project was San Bernardino Symphony. Had a bunch of sheet music that they had, and they had no idea how much it was worth, and if it was worth anything, how much would it fetch on the market, and should they sell it because the ticket sales volumes were declining, and they were really concerned about the viability of the symphony, and so would this be a big boost? And they had tons of sheet music. I had no idea this sheet music had any. That was really a fun project. Learned a lot. International finance with Dr. Bear. You guys taking this class yet? Okay. I think it's maybe, I don't know if it's in there, but she was great because I can remember Dr. Bayer's from Belgium, and she has this beautiful Belgian, almost you think French accent. And so when she would come in and she would talk about arbitrage and all this, I just had a lot of fun learning from her. And then last but not least, marketing with Dr. Razouk. Unfortunately, Dr. Razouk's no longer here, but he taught he was just very passionate about his particular subject and really knew a lot and was opinionated about marketing as well, which is good because I remember I prepared my projects for him, and he had a lot of excellent positive feedback. So things I would do different, I would form a study group with every class, and I'd try to identify that first week who's serious to be here and who's not. And I try to find what I consider to be the two different learning styles. I call them checklist learners and folks who are really here to master the material. Checklist learners, like, I'm here, I gotta just jump to this stupid class and then get graduated so I can go get that job that's already waiting for me. I just need an MBA. Okay, well that's fine, that's what you want. That's not, But the guys who are really there to master and engage the material, get that good start, and then just go play with the material. And that, it's kind of like what I would recommend doing is, what you're learning in class, it's a good start, but there's so much more even beyond that. And that's why professors are here, is because they've gone beyond that mark, and what you're learning is the fundamentals. So keep going and keep practicing material. I had contacted the interested alumni with any questions, and I'll provide my contact information. Again, you're more than welcome to call and or email me. I kid you not, just about any question I can help you with. I'm always happy to help, and there's a lot of alumni that are happy to help. Just to spend a few moments, just like Professor Long did with me, to answer questions and provide those next steps and guidance of just, the concerns, the fears, the questions, how did you do it, where do you recommend I go for this, that, and the other. In fact, I met with a student just a few minutes ago. She unfortunately couldn't stay, but she asked me, she says, well, Zach, I'm here and I want this project management credential, where do I go to get it, and how do I do it? Well, I'll just send me your email, I'll send you, I got some information about it. Oh, okay, great, I'll send it along. And by the way, document the heck out of everything and store it in your cloud storage. Y'all do that? Outstanding. Good, keep it up. Anybody use Microsoft OneNote or Evernote?
It's the best thing.
It's the world's best thing. If you're not doing it, I highly, highly recommend it. I don't care if it's Evernote or OneNote, I'm just a OneNote guy. Let me explain why. Using this application and then storing the actual data up in my personal cloud, what I've been able to do over the course of the last 7 years is that, in fact, here, I'll show you real quick. Let me see here. Right there. Okay. So what you're looking at is the online version of OneNote, and I have, of course, the application installed. And you're thinking, well, what am I looking at here? So OneNote is like a 5-subject notebook on steroids. Instead of 5 subjects, instead of one book, I can have many. And this is a book that is entitled Franciscan Health System. Instead of 5 subjects, I can have as many as I want. You can see all my subjects located right here. And instead of 50 pages per subject, I can have as many pages as I want. And all my pages are listed here. And if I needed to find anything, which a lot of times you do, there is a search button somewhere around here. On the application, I know it's usually right up in the upper right-hand corner. But I can keyword and search, and I can also do the same on my smartphone. And so this was a OneNote that I created with a particular team that I was leading. And there was a real educational deficit. We were learning things in the application. Nobody knew how to do it. And so one person would learn one thing and one person would learn the next. And I said, okay, you guys, go in here and document step by step how you did whatever particular small task that was, so we'll never forget. And then, since this is up in the cloud, everybody has access to it. And the bonus is, I know in this industry, y'all are gonna get contacted. It's not a question of if, but when, to go be a consultant, because somebody's gonna offer you a bunch of money. I said, so we know the question of when it's not if you're gonna depart me, it's just when. So as you head out to be a consultant, you're welcome to take a copy of this with you. It's be very valuable to you. And it would be especially valuable if you contribute and everybody else contributes. So everybody won on this one. And because I took a copy too. And so for the last 7 years, each job, I've walked in and documented all my experience, all my lessons learned and how-tos and all that stuff. And of course, my OneNote and my OneDrive, I've got all the project documentation I've ever had. So I walked into my current employer in the interview process. I said, hey, I'm happy to help, and here's my experience. They said, really? I said, and I've got it all documented here. So when I walk in here, I'm ready to roll. I've got all my old historical stuff. Happy to reconstruct that for you. They said, great. Their eyes just got big as saucers. And so when you're working on your school projects and things that you're doing here, that's the foundation and the concepts. So, gosh, document it in OneNote, all those little essays and things, stick it up in your OneDrive or your whatever cloud file storage you have. You never know if you need it. If you don't, then well, at least you had it. But you'll always have had it in some organized way. So again, I highly recommend that you do that. So back here real quick, I'm almost done with the Q&A. So I got all things I do different. And then, how do I use the tools and skills? Again, as I mentioned, the Cal State MBA represents the foundation of everything that I've learned. So what counsel would I share with you as current and prospective students? Become a professional craftsman. Learning has only begun, and I'll talk about see one, do one, teach one, and succession planning, mentoring, and then making it happen. All right, be a personal craftsman, or in this picture again. It's really important that you just engage in the process from this point forward. Your learning hasn't even begun to end, it never will. Because these concepts that you're learning, these tools that you're learning, just keep that process refining and sharpen those tools. In healthcare, it's particularly in nursing school, you can see I got my little dummy here. They actually have a little pedagogy, see one, do one, teach one. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you it. So that's the C one. As a teacher, I would turn to you and say, okay, here it is. Here's concept X. And then you're going to do it, because that's why we assign homework, because we have nothing better to do as teachers, right? To just give you random homework that we hate grading anyway. No, of course not. And then test you on it. But that's really important, because that's your first opportunity to take that concept and actually do it. And then if you really want to solidify that concept, whatever it is, teach it to your friends in the study group. Get together, master that concept, and then whatever it is in that chapter you're up, and then you teach it to your friend, and he teaches that back a different concept in the chapter back to you. It'll really reinforce it. That's how I studied my PMP certification. Just a bunch of three of us would just sit around at lunch and we would assign a chapter for that day. And then I knew that the 1/3 of the chapter that was my responsibility that day, my teammates would suffer if I didn't prepare. So I came prepared. And since they knew that we all came prepared, no excuses. So with succession planning and mentoring, we all want to take that as the next few steps up in our careers. And so I'll never forget, I had a boss one time that was a manager and wanted to move to a directorial role. And the chief information officer said, "I'm not moving you." And you know why I'm not moving you? And the guy says, "I don't know." He says, "You're qualified, you've got the experience, but you haven't mentored anybody behind you. I've got nobody to replace you. So you're not moving to you've mentored somebody and you raised somebody up internally to replace you." And so coaches like Bill Parcells, Bill Walsh, and BYU, Lavelle Edwards, these are football coaches who've done a lot of mentorship and mentored a lot of football coaches in their philosophies and in the way they do things. These are all very successful football coaches. And so, like yourself and like I've done, since I've documented everything, and of course I teach this stuff and turn to my coworkers and say, "Hey, by the way, I see you got this problem. Tell you what, here's an answer that worked for me last time. If it works for you, great. If not, then at least you have this information for next time." And then making it happen, accept no excuses, and this is the last slide. So this is Andrew Higgins. And in New Orleans, we've got the World War II History Museum. And it's just a phenomenal museum. If you ever have a chance to get down to New Orleans in the middle of Mardi Gras, just stop on by the museum and say hello. So Andrew Higgins was a lumber baron back in, late 1920s, early 1930s there in Louisiana. And he had a problem. He wanted to be able to get his trees faster to the lumber mill, but there was no easy way to do that. And so he figured that if he could just build a boat, a good boat that could get to the bayous of Louisiana, why then he'd be able to transport his lumber in a more cost-effective way. Well, there was no boat designs available at that time. It was all these very long, deep draft boats. No adequate shallow draft boats that could handle the loads that he was packing. So he wrote to a boat building correspondence school and learned the craft of boat building. I suspect he hired other designers as well. The guy went to correspondence school. Figured this guy's a lumber guy, right? So his early design was the Eureka boat. And it was a shallow draft boat. And this guy was really, Louisiana's filled full of characters, by the way. And this guy was no exception. So Higgins would take his shallow draft boats and he would use them for his lumber. But he also alternately sell them to the Coast Guard and to the bootleggers in town. And so he'd make bigger, better, faster versions of his boat. And so version A would get sold to the Coast Guard, and they were happy because they could go chase all the bad guys in town, right, out in the bayous. And then version B that had bigger engine, was faster, could carry more, he'd sell to the bootleggers. So now the bootleggers could outrun the Coast Guard. So the Coast Guard would say, "Hey, we got to build us something faster." Okay, version C would go to the Coast Guard. The bootleggers would say, whether that's true or not, I highly suspect it is, because a lot of truth mixed up with that crazy stuff that goes on down there. But it makes for a really colorful story. So this is his early version of his Eureka boat that would get that shallow draft boat. And it came into subsequent versions that you may recognize as the famous Higgins boat of World War II. You see, in 1934, armed with this Eureka design, the Navy said, "Hey, we need something to do amphibious landings." Took him 4 years to convince the Navy that his design was the best, because they were picking their own, like, "Oh, we got this, we're the Navy, we're going to figure this out." It's like, no. So he just had a 75 employee operation. And when he submitted his drafts, He took about 3 weeks. He worked 24 hours a day, he and his team, and literally the ink was still wet when he handed it over to the Navy for them to proof of concept approve. So in 1938, they started ordering these amphibious landing craft. So lumber baron just had a problem, developed a solution to it, and then it just became a bigger. So then like during World War II, at the biggest point in time, he had gone from 75 employees to about 25,000 employees operating in 7 plants throughout Louisiana. So all the Higgins boats were built there in Louisiana. And that, as you know, was a very significant factor in the winning of World War II.
There was an investment guy that went to a bookseller's school, and he ended up, it worked out pretty good. He had kind of a unique concept. His name was Jeffrey Bezos. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah.
But that's what he went to, and years later he ran into people from the convention. Because he told the people at the bookseller's school that, you know, what are you going to do? And he goes, well, I want to sell books online. This is before people knew what the internet was. You know, so it's good to,
Making it happen.
think big.
Think big, make it happen, and never accept excuses. I mean, at any point he could have stopped. So, well, Navy's not listening to me. I don't know. He just kept on going. Had his idea.
That's where Higgins was.
So that's the conclusion of my presentation. I hope you've learned a lot. I'm really grateful again that you have asked me to come back and share this information. Feel free to write down my contact information. I'm happy to learn it to help you folks that are here in this room. And folks that weren't able to make it, I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that you have. So with that, y'all have any questions or answers or anything that I can help you with now?
I have a question.
Sure.
Going back to your time in the MBA program, how did you balance, I guess, life and being in the program? And what would you do if you ever found yourself getting really stressed out?
Yeah. Okay, so dialing back the time machine, I can remember starting my MBA program, and I just got married, and then my wife was pregnant, and our first child was born in 2004. I graduated in 2005. I can remember Professor Kim was really nice. And after the withdrawal deadline, I came to him and I just in a private one-on-one conversation. This is like a really tough finance class. I asked him, darn near tears, I said, please, I'm just failing. I'm going to fail this class. Not a question of if, I'm going to fail this class. And I got this new kid, my job was working full time, so I was at night school. Please let me out. Bless his heart, he let me out. And I'll always remember that. I'd be grateful for him for that. How do I manage stress? In healthcare, it's the same. You know, we've got lots of competing deadlines. So the first thing I would say is you have to triage. You have to accept the fact that you're not going to be able to do everything that you wanted to be able to do. That life in the MBA program is changed. It's not an undergraduate degree, that's for sure. And that in the circumstance, are you working full-time as well?
Yes.
Yep, so working full-time, night school, MBA. A lot of things are going to fall by the wayside that you just weren't, not be able to do. I don't recall watching a whole lot of TV during that, so that was like a regular action. Nope, that's gone. I would, for stress management, again, making sure I did the top 5 things that were absolutely required that I need to get done that day, make it happen. And then just go celebrate that small victory in some small way. And then take lots of bubble baths. I remember going to the hot tub every night. Oh, man, this is so nice. Our little apartment complex on the hot tub. Oh, this is great. But yeah, I wouldn't get home at nights until 9, 10 o'clock at night on school nights. And then just crank through it. There's no doubt about it. It's a grind. I think first of all, accepting that that's just what it is. That's half the battle. Like you're fighting with, oh, this shouldn't be this way. I'm sorry, I knew it. Just don't fight it. Just go with the flow. So I hope that answered the question.
Yeah.
What other questions you have?
Do you seek out mentorship in your program?
In finance, I wish I did. Not when I was there. I mean, I spent time obviously with Professor Yang, and just talking about finance and learning the concepts. I spent some time with Professor Kim. And Dr. Baer was really helpful. I'd reach out to her on stuff. In terms of mentorship, to me, I hear that word and I just think that has so many different real meanings. Like, they're trying to help me find a job. Well, I didn't really reach out to them for that. I already had a career path at that point. I look at mentorship and I say, well, that can come in so many forms, both formally and informally. So was I mentored here? Yes, I was. I didn't think I really reached out for it, and it fulfilled the needs that I had. You mentioned that helping folks even understand the process of how to find a job. It would have been nice to have that. In fact, I'd love to. I kid you not. There was this college student that a couple weeks ago had that same problem. And so I sat with him for like 30 minutes over lunch. And I said, okay, here's what you got to do. I said, I can't tell you the end destination. All I can tell you is the process. Process is you got to get out there, you got to shake the trees. I said, what industry are you in? He says, I'm in oil. I said, what was your major? I was petroleum engineering. I said, okay, great. I got some friends that they're really smart guys. They do that. So I gave him that contact information. I said, well, the process is the same as anything. I said, who are the big players in your industry? I don't know who they are. You do. What's the top 25? And so he wrote down a name. I said, okay, great. Your homework now from this point forward, you're going to go and you're going to research that. How big are they? What are their current problems and questions that they're struggling with? Just even broad, what's in the news about them? Then you're going to apply online. And you're not going to sit there because you apply it online, great. HR, you're going to look at that and go, gee, that's nice. There's, number 50. You're going to go on LinkedIn and you're going to, look up company X. And guess what? You'll find lots of employees that are company X. And you may find the very guy who could be likely, you don't know, who's probably the boss of the hiring role that you're looking for. Email that guy, call him. The contact information is typically right there. Say hello. And then, like consultants do this trick all the time. Consultant, or I call them headhunters. Consultant headhunters, they call me up and they say, who do you know that would be liking to, like to have the following position? They never ask me directly. So as students, don't ask these folks for a job. They're not going to go, what? They're going to say, by the way, I'm really interested in your company. Can you tell me more about this? And are you aware of any roles for a student of my skill set? And put your resume right there. Same technique. They do it all the time, works well. And they may write you back, and you may just at least get some information. You made a contact with something. I wouldn't bug them too much after that because you still got to go through the HR route. But they will not forget. I think in my career I've had one person that actually did that. I still, haven't forgotten them. Just cold call folks and just say hello, introduce yourself, who you are, what you're all about. You got skills. You're getting your MBA. So hope that helps.
I have another question.
Sure.
Can you give like an overview of what your day-to-day looks like, I guess, in your current position? Or just,
Yeah.
I don't know how in depth.
So my day-to-day, first thing in the morning, I usually get there about 7 in the morning. And the reason why I like to get there before everybody else is quiet. And so I have a little bit of a commute, and I use that to just, listen to books on tape and really kind of think about what I'm about to do that day. So when I get there, I'll try to work on, a few of the emails that have come in. And once my emails are usually done, it's about 8:30. And I just think, oh, great, yes, my emails are done. Because nobody likes really writing emails. Now I can really get to my work. And so my work as a project manager consists of me looking at the project plans. And then I need to prepare perhaps a status report that's due to the CIO for later that week, because I want to see the status of what's going on with the given phase of the project. Or I may be looking at the project holistically and saying, okay, I'm hearing a lot of noise or chaos or challenges in this one particular area. What am I going to do to just figure this one out? So I'll unfold my processes, start writing things up on the dry erase board, make a plan, and I just start making it happen. Bringing people together in meetings, facilitating this, getting that all set up, getting my timelines all lined up, and then just generally helping folks. I'll spend about 30 minutes each day wandering around, get out of my office and just say hello to various folks that I need help with. Just checking, how you doing? Because as a project manager, I actually have no HR reports. Nobody reports to me. So the only way I get them to help me is influence and just making sure that I can give them the resources that they need in exchange they can help me on my projects. Things that gotta get done. So, yeah.
What software do you use to like stay organized and look at all your different projects? Do you guys have like a specific software system?
Yes and no. Truth be told, I list all my projects by title up on my dry erase board. So there's my, just go checklist. Boom, 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 boom. Each one of my projects, I typically use Microsoft Project, and the phases are real the same. So I've got, build, test, train, pre-go live, post-go live, with lots of detail in between. And so the Microsoft Project software is really excellent to help keep me organized and like say, okay, what's today? And who's assigned to stuff going on today? And so I'll reach out, get a status report for them, how they're doing, what they need.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is important stuff. Drug interactions and stuff. We got the Cures Act that went into effect October the 2nd and all that. I mean, what you did actually gets to make sure that the people, the dietary needs and all that, so that Bill Smith doesn't get peanuts in his and everything. I mean, there's lives on the other end of what you do in healthcare, and I respect that.
Yeah, I'm not a physician, I'm not a doctor.
But yet you still have an impact on
Absolutely.
patient care. That's why it's a healthcare team, and you're part of the team. Cool.
Anything else?
I just want, given the changes in the healthcare model and the mergers, acquisitions, the hierarchy on who you see and what you're saying, in the next 10 years, if you had to look at what hospitals or what the healthcare leading jobs are, would they be doctors or would they be somebody else, with the numbers being higher?
There's opportunities on all fronts. The role of the doctor and of where they're at in the overall workflow has definitely changed. And it's definitely caused a lot of angst and concern amongst physicians today. If I had a nickel for every time some physician looked at me and in some surly voice they said, well, you just made me a glorified transcriptionist. Really, because now you have to type and use a computer? Yeah, okay, look, I get it. Because they're so used to seeing patients and they just go. You got some guy behind them taking notes for them, and now they're having to type it in themselves. And that's not because I woke up and said that was a good idea. It's because the federal government says you've got to type your notes in. By the way, we need to make more what we call quantitative rather than qualitative. I got to have discrete data in there so I can map it to various things and quality measures and billing is, so it's got to be right there, just how I need it. So yeah, there's opportunities for physicians, but for physicians that role's going to change, and I need CMIOs, folks that are both physicians and actually have an interest in IT, to help us to make sure we're developing good content. Project management and IT, we are absolutely leading the way in the transition of healthcare, because nothing happens in that hospital but what there's a computer system behind it. And an effective organization is going to have a strong IT department with lots of experience and lots of good solid implementation plans and techniques, because I've been to many an implementation that's just gone horrible because we just didn't consider all the aspects of implementation correctly beforehand. So yeah, lots of nursing, that won't change. You've got to have nursing. You've got to have all the lab folks, imaging, radiology. It's really that the connectivity. 10 years from now, I mean, it's already here. Of course, telemedicine visits are already here easy. You can see a doctor online, just like that, anytime. I can remember years ago doing early versions of that technology. 3-dimensional imaging is coming, if it's not already here. So the ability as a cardiologist to look at a 3-dimensional image of your heart. So you're in my imaging unit. Now I'm just going to take this 3-dimensional image. I'm going to walk around, like Star Wars kind of stuff. It's Princess Leia. No, it's your heart. And then I can just like take my hand and chop it in half and pull it apart and look left, right, and look at all these it's like, holy cow. And yeah, that's just about there. So we've got some incredible advancements in technology just right around the corner. Who knows what healthcare delivery is going to do, but
So Zach, as far as the data gathering on patient information,
oh my
but
goodness.
how does that affect
So-
decisions and a
Yeah.
nation's decisions on healthcare and
That's another opportunity as well. The young lady that was here earlier from India wants to go back to India. She wants to be a data analyst. I need those folks. She wants to be a report writer. Like, oh, please come. We need a Power Builder BI because we have to take all that data and aggregate it and make reports out of it. People have all these operational questions of, well, what about this? And what's the result of this? And how many CODIs and CLABSIs do I have? And if I do technique X, does that reduce or my CODI and CLABSI rates? Well, we gotta make a report to make that happen. Test plan, how we get, so yeah, tons of stuff. Lots of demand for leadership in the MBA. Really, even though I didn't get my MHA, I'm okay. They need me just as much as I need them. Yes, I need an MHA as my chief operating officer, but they need me and my skills and your skills. So. All right. Well, thank you so much. I sure appreciate you all spending your time with me.